Hey everybody, Jim Chester here, live at the world-renowned Gonstead Clinic in Mount Horeb, Wisconsin. This is the weekend of the Gonstead Extravaganza, and I have Jack Rosser here with me. This guy has been practicing for 52 years. He actually knew Clarence Gonstead personally, and if you guys believe this, he still has a PV, patient visits, of 100 a week yet. So, Jack, welcome, man.
Thank you.
So I'll hold the mic.
Okay. Well, you hold it, all right. So, I don't want you really. It's just an experience to come back up here after 52 years and see other people and the young people, and that we hope that they can continue with the profession like we've carried on.
So my first question for you is, what was it like to know Clarence?
It was an experience. The first time I met him, I didn't realize that he just was an average guy walking around. I thought I'd come up here and I would be in awe of someone who did all this. But he was just as reasonable and nice and concerned about everything that went on that anybody that you could think of. He didn't have a real ego problem until he got in the room with a patient and had to fix him. So that's my experience with. I learned a lot from him. I owe my career to him, and have the privilege of being here for 3 years working with him. I learned a lot.
So what is it like for you to come back to the Gonstead Clinic after 52 years and be here this weekend?
It's you see so much change from everything that's happened with the profession. The students are still enthusiastic about following Gonstead's work, which I just hope it continues, because it's a system that really works. And I don't know how else to put it except that I'm glad that there's a lot of people taking over and continuing the profession in the way that we know it.
So let's talk about the specificity of the Gonstead technique.
The specificity, when I was trained in college, you heard them where they hurt, or would move everything around and make all kinds of noise. With Gonstead's specificity was you made just 2 adjustments on the patient at the time they come in. You're just finding the subluxation, learning by X-ray and analysis of what you find in the patient, which way the body is subluxated, and you just adjust it to fit the spine. You don't make something that's not there. You just take care of that particular person's, the way that you find it, and it's adjusted, and you just don't over-adjust. If there's no subluxation, you leave it alone.
So I didn't prep you for this question, but let's talk about the volume that Gonstead saw while he was practicing.
Okay. I would say he probably, at least when I hit here in the 60s, he was in his heyday. And it would be nothing for him to see 300 people in a day, because I would come in and be in the room with him, and the receptionist would come back and hand him a note, say, "Doctor's 50 people in the waiting room, get going." So the most that I think I've seen him do in one afternoon was 165, because I sat there and counted them. But a lot of times the patient would come in and he would just find one segment and he would boom, boom. So he didn't spend an awful lot of time listening to the patients bemoan about something else. He would just fix the subluxation, and that was that.
So, what a great story. Next question is we talked about subluxation during the interview.
Yes.
What does the chiropractic profession look like in subluxation-based chiropractic in 5 years?
I wish I had the answer, but it seems to be with way insurance and everything, they don't have a concept of subluxation. It's unfortunate. They're trying to make chiropractic like pseudo-medics, as far as I'm concerned. And we have a profession that helps people without drugs, medicine, and all kinds of physical therapy and stuff like that, that it doesn't really reduce the subluxation. And people have got to understand, if a vertebrae is stuck, that's what you got to do, is you got to free it up and free the nerve. And that's the way I look at it.
That's amazing. So I'm going to close out with one last question for you. What is it like to see so much vigor here this weekend with the young practitioners?
I think it's wonderful. It's really exciting to see this much enthusiasm, and whoever's responsible for it, I really congratulate them, because I've been to a number of schools and tried to put small programs on, and there's not much enthusiasm because there hasn't been anybody building them up to get to this point. So I think it's very exciting for the profession to see this many young people working like this.
That's great. Well, Jack, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you sharing some insight on what we're doing up here. And I just want to close out with you guys and tell you, you're just one story away. Keep hustling.
Okay, thank you.